Okay. Yes, it is. All right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. My name is Caitlin, and I'm the events coordinator at Square Books in Oxford, Mississippi. We are here this evening to celebrate and chat about Bring Your Baggage and Don't Pack Light, Helen Ellis's new essay collection. And she is joined this evening I'm still not sure after doing these events for like 6 months, but Ariel Lawhon is here to talk with her. But before I kind of pass it off to them, I wanted to tell you all about some other events we have coming up. And then I will get out of the way and we can get this started. So tomorrow we actually have 2 events. If you live locally, we have partnered with the Oxford Community Market to present a pop-up signing for A Good Meal is Hard to Find. Author and illustrator team Martha Hall-Foos and Amy C. Evans will be on site to sign at the Old Armory Pavilion from 3 to 6:30. We'll have free samples that we are cooking from the cookbook, and we are putting on a raffle to raise funds for the market. So definitely stop by. The raffle prizes include Martha's Angel Food Cake or a signed art print from Amy. So if you need an even more incentive, there's that. And again, that's going to be from 3 to 6:30, so you can do your marketing and pick up a signed copy of Good Meals Hard to Find. Then later that evening at 6 p.m. Central Time on Zoom, we're going to be celebrating the publication of Miranda Beverly Whitmore's literary thriller, Fierce Little Thing. And she has put together this fantastic panel called Writing Female Power. And should we have some special guests, Marcy Dermansky, Leslie Jameson, and Emily Rabateau, whose name I'm not quite sure how to pronounce, and I'm excited to learn that too. Then Thursday at 5:30 Central Time, we've partnered with our friends from Lemuria Books in Jackson to present Jennifer Lapidus in conversation with baker Robert Raymond for the book Southern Ground, which is all about reclaiming flavor through stone-milled flour. Last one, then I'm going to stop. Next Tuesday, August 3rd, can't believe it's almost August, at 5:30 Central Time, we have a pub day event. I hope you can help us welcome Omar El Akkad, author of Square Books bestseller American War, and Elena Pastorello for a conversation in celebration of Omar's beautifully written, unrelentingly dramatic, and profoundly moving new novel, What Strange Paradise, a story that looks at the global refugee crisis through the eyes of a child. But enough about them. I would like to tell you a little more about the lovely ladies gracing your Zoom screen today. Helen Ellis is the author of Southern Lady Code, American Housewife, Eating the Cheshire Cat, and of course, Bring Your Baggage and Don't Pack Light. Raised in Alabama, she lives with her husband in New York City, and you can find her on Twitter at What I Do All Day and Instagram at Helen Ellis Author. Ariel Lawhon is a critically acclaimed New York Times bestselling author of historical fiction. Her books have been translated into numerous languages and have been library reads, One Book, One County, Indie Next, Costco, and Book of the Month Club selections. She lives in the rolling hills outside of Nashville, Tennessee with her husband and 4 sons. She splits her time between the grocery store and the baseball field and your Zoom screen. Okay, 2 wonderful ladies that frankly don't really need an introduction if you are a Square Books reader, because you are both so well loved by our readers, and we've had the opportunity to host you both in the past. I wish we had you here in person, but this is the next best thing. Those of you joining us, please feel free to submit questions in the Q&A, and I will come back later to kind of moderate those. But in the meantime, I'm going to get out of here and leave it to the ladies. All right, thank you guys so much for joining us. Have fun.
Thank you.
Yay, Helen. Yay! It's almost as good as being in the same room.
Almost. We don't have our old fashions.
We don't. So for those here who may not know, Helen and I are publishing twins. We share a publisher and pretty much an entire publishing team. And we also know each other in real life, which has been fun. Our wonderful publisher sent us on tour together a few years ago. And we got to ramble around to a number of different cities and have a great amount of fun. So we have spent the years since getting to know each other a little better and doing more events in person. And now I can say you are not just a book friend, but a real life friend as well. And that's really fun.
Me too.
So I'm so glad to do this. I loved your book. I'm so grateful that you invited me, and for Square Books for having us. I love them. I love their store. We obviously love to support indie bookstores.
Yeah.
And I'm delighted you're here, and I'm delighted everyone else is as well.
And I'm so delighted that we'll be seeing each other in real life on the 21st for the Mississippi Book Festival.
Yes, it will be my first in-person thing again, and I cannot wait.
It's so great.
I want to get out of my house so
Yes.
bad.
Although I have to say my favorite part of the summer is your Instagram live account, because I get to watch all the baseball. You have all the baseball players. And I would love one day to come and watch in person.
Oh, well, it's probably not nearly as fun as Instagram. The real life version is much more frustrating. What are you doing? So, I loved this essay collection. I've loved everything you've written. This one felt really personal to me, and I can't really explain why. But having known you for a number of years now, known you and seen you in a crowd and seen you tell stories, I'm really fascinated about something. I want to know what that light bulb moment is in your head. Something happens, you're interacting with somebody, and you go, that would make a great essay. Or at other times, that would make a great short story, because you do both. But I want to know what that moment is for you and how you know.
Well, it's interesting because I never thought I would write nonfiction. I never thought that was going to be my thing. And now I love doing it. And the more I do it, that more that light bulb, as you say, sort of goes off. So for example, I keep telling a story. So if I keep telling a story to different friends, often it'll be like, that's what I'm going to tell. So, or I'm just seeing something so unbelievable. Like in Southern Lady Code, I watched my friend Meredith try a murder case, and I had just gone to see her opening remarks. And 5 minutes in, I thought, I'm going to have to write about this. And then in this book, Bring Your Baggage, I got a phone call because my friend was going into labor.
We're going to talk more about that, by the way.
And her best friend was out of town for a week, so I was her backup plan. And pretty much from the moment that I said I would be her backup plan, I was crossing my fingers that I would get the call, because that's a story. But a lot of times it's just like a story I keep telling. So I'm working on a new collection all about marriage and a happy marriage. And
my favorite kind, by the way.
Yes, I know it. Because I wish that everybody had seen your husband make a little cameo. Mine is on the other side of this wall playing our Monday night virtual poker game. And but he went on an errand with a friend of ours who manages a lot of buildings, and they go to this building. It's completely abandoned because it was bought before the pandemic. Nobody ever touched it for the last 16 months. Our friend says, I need to go to the basement. Would you like to come with me? My husband said, I heard your voice in my head, Helen. So I said, no, thank you. And our friend goes down to this basement, and my husband stands in this pitch black dark townhouse, and there's no street lights, and it's dark outside, and he can hear things scurrying. And 5 minutes go by, and 10 minutes go by, and 15 minutes go by. My husband gets the nerve to go up to the top of the basement and say, are you okay? And he hears, yep, I'll be up in a second. And he comes up, and he's holding a shoebox. What's in the shoebox?
Right. You have to know.
Yes, I have to know. But I have been telling the story again and again. And I want to ask you, what do you think was in the shoebox?
Oh, gosh.
Because it will tell me a lot about you.
Oh, dear. Okay.
Be honest.
A dead pet.
See, he thought dead rat. My response, satanic talisman.
It's either love letters
Yes,
or a dead pet.
that's a new one. Love letters is a new guess. And then people guessed money, people guessed shoes. And it kept
But love
going.
letters go in the attic, right?
I think my love letters
Love letters
go
in the attic, not
Yes.
the basement.
Yes, you don't want that flood. And I'm not going to tell you it was in the box because you will never guess. No one has guessed. I've told the story at least 30 times. And I think I have to write about it because it really, I think, tells a lot about your marriage, as to what you guess. Do you guess similarly? Anyway, so that's when the light bulb goes off pretty much as soon as I start to retell a story.
I think it's brilliant. But I mean, you've done probably now equal amounts of fiction and nonfiction. You have 2 books published of each.
Yes.
So is there a difference specifically in shorter works? Is there a difference in your process between writing a short story and writing an essay?
I tell you, it's so much easier to write nonfiction because I don't have to make anything up. I don't have to make anything up. And a short story starts the same way. Like I said just today, I have an idea for a story because a friend of mine lives up in Woodstock, New York, and there's going to be a Harry Connick Jr. concert. So she invited all the bridge ladies, there's 5 of us, to come up, spend the night at her house, and see Harry Connick Jr. This happens to fall when I will be in Mississippi, so I will not be there. I'm sorry, bridge ladies. But last week, her husband walked outside and was bitten by a baby bobcat. And so the question was, do you want to go to Mississippi where it is 1,000 degrees for 48 hours, or do you want to come up to Woodbury or Woodstock and risk being attacked by a bobcat? And I wrote these words: new short story idea, 5 bridge ladies and a bobcat. So that's something I don't want to experience, but it gets my mind going. It's always a question. Like with American Housewife, the question was, what if there was a book club that had a sinister motive for inviting a new member to join? Or a question like, why have I never seen an author on Dancing with the Stars or any of these reality shows? What would happen if Stephen King, was doing the mambo, and I wrote Dumpster Diving with the Stars? So it always starts with the question for a fiction, and I guess nonfiction starts with I have to tell you what happened. So I guess that's the difference. Nobody's asked me that before. I feel like I'm in therapy.
Sure. Well, I'm fascinated by it. So I wrote my questions. I'm going to read this one because it's a little bit long.
Okay.
I'll just get it. I don't have to read it. So I read this entire collection last week in the car while we were driving to the beach.
Oh, with all those boys?
No, we only had 2. It was amazing. The older 2 were old enough to get in a car by themselves and follow behind. So we only had the 2 of the boys. So in theory, it was quieter. My house never really quiet. But I read the whole thing on the way to the beach, and I loved it, loved it, loved it. And there were 3 in particular that stood out to me, beginning, middle, and end, interestingly enough. So, so I found the backup plan to be the most poignant. That one made me cry, again, for reasons I can't explain. Grown Ass Ladies Gone Mild, I think, was the funniest. I laughed, and I laughed, and I laughed, and laughed. My favorite was I Feel Better About My Neck.
How does it look? How does it look, Ariel? How is it looking?
Well, I just turned 43. It looks beautiful. And according to Nora,
yes,
I'm 43 and it's starting to go.
It's either gonna drop or it's gonna crinkle. It's gonna be one or the other. I don't see like thing happening yet.
Starting. So those 3 in particular, I loved them. I laughed, I cried, I don't know, I loved them. What I want to know is there one in this collection that is meaningful to you specifically, more so than the others, and if so, why?
Grown Ass Ladies Gone Mild is the most meaningful to me because it's about my childhood friends who I've known since I was 10 years old. And I really wanted to do them justice because to me, you think about that spark, and the spark happened when we all met up in 2018 to go on a grown-ass ladies trip at the Redneck Riviera, Panama City Beach. And I brought Southern Lady Code, which was a manuscript form, to read to my friend Vicki, because I read everything to Vicki ever since we were children. I used to read her my diary. And so I brought that to read to her to sort of make it real. And Vicki arrived with a bad mammogram result. And over the course of the next 2 years, there were a couple of trips. The second trip was to the Smoky Mountains, where she was about to have a double mastectomy and was undergoing chemotherapy. And the last was, that was to Georgia, and then a Georgia winery. And then the last was to the Smoky Mountains, where she was cancer-free. But I was sitting at that Panama City Beach condo, and I was so impressed with her bravery and her stamina and her grace. And I thought, I'm going to have to write about her. And at the same time, I was with my friend Paige, who was very happily married a second time and had gotten herself out of in my opinion, cancerous marriage. And I was so proud of them because they were such survivors. And I was so grateful to have a group of friends that came around to help them heal in whatever way we could. And I thought at that moment, I'm gonna have to write. I didn't even know what I was gonna write next, but I thought I'm gonna write more nonfiction because I have to brag about these women. And then every story in the book is me going, I have to brag about my friend who had a baby on her own at 50. You know, I have to brag about my gorgeous, bridge lady friends, all empty nesters, the new gay men of New York, who just take on the world. And, so every piece was me going, I just have to tell you about a friend.
I love it. I love it. You've got poker, you have bridge ladies, you have your writing groups, several of them. I'm in one.
Yay, the virtual porch, porch.
But you are also, and this one cracks me up every time I hear you say the words or see you write them, you're also part of a classic trashy book club.
Yes. Yeah.
How did that get started?
That got started at a Super Bowl party in 2012. There were many couples at this party, and at one point, it wasn't halftime, so we weren't watching. Some of us weren't watching. And I believe we were all standing around a 6-foot-long Subway sandwich, and the women who were there started to talk about what we were reading. And I wasn't even writing at the time because I had you talk about, I have 2 fiction books published and 2 nonfiction books published, but there were 15 years I wrote 3 novels, and they are all in a drawer, and they will never be published, and they were rejected by publishing houses, by agents, the whole 9 yards. So I was a reader. And so we were talking about what we used to read or weren't allowed to read when we were teenagers. And my friend Karen, who is in the book club, said we should start a book club just to read these old books. And so that was born. We're getting ready to read our 79th book, which is Anne Rice's Interview with the Vampire. Last month was Judith Krantz, I'll Take Manhattan. And the book club is for books that are at least 20 years old, were banned, burned, or made into a TV miniseries.
I love it. I
love it too, because everybody, like almost every book is written by a middle-aged lady who started her career midlife. I mean, you have to think Judith Krantz, Jacqueline Suzanne, Jackie Collins, Dominic Dunn, I put him in with the ladies, all started writing novels later in life. And so many of their heroines are taking that second chance. Like it's always about somebody's husband's cheated on them and they go off and live a wonderful life. Or they start big business.
I love it. There were dozens of sentences I underlined in this book. I mean, it's filled with things that I highlighted and underlined and laughed about, but there's one in particular that you wrote in your poker essay, and I keep thinking about it because it's so true. You said, I wore all black because I myself am a pop of color. And it is true. You are a pop of color. You walk into a room and it fills up. You're also incredibly forthright in this collection. And I want to know, as someone who writes about other people and other lives, never my own, never ever my own, what is it like when you are your own subject matter?
Well, I'll tell you, the more I do it, the more vulnerable I allow myself to be. Because I sort of see what happens. Like, you think, what's the worst that's going to happen? Somebody's going to say something awful about my character, and the character is me. But the more I do it, the braver I become. And I find myself wanting to read books by women who are older than me or my age. I think about Nora Ephron's I Feel Bad About My Neck, and that came out when I was 35, and I have reread and re-listened to that, and I remember nothing so many times. Anna Quinlan is the same. Just because it feels like a friend just saying, here's what's coming. And so that's what I am doing in this book for the most part. It's like saying, here's what's coming, but it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. So I find it, I know my subject matter, meaning myself. So I find it freeing because there's nothing I can come up with that somebody else hasn't experienced. And that's one of my favorite things when with Southern Lady Code, and with this one in particular, which really is, as my Uncle Will, 80 years old in Georgia, after he read it, wrote me a very nice typed letter saying, I think this is your best book, but you really let it all hang out. And so there's some sort of freedom with letting it all hang out.
I too have an Uncle Will.
Oh,
I am just trying to imagine what I would feel like if I wrote about myself and let it all hang out and he read it. Like, it's like, oh,
yes. Well, it helps that I am 50. That is helpful. I don't know if, I didn't write nonfiction until I was in my late 40s. And I don't know if I would have done it even at 43. I didn't. This is all a great surprise to me. That anyone would be at all interested. So I'm just happy to write. And again, I sort of feel like I'm cheating because I don't have to make anything up.
I don't think it's cheating. I think it's wonderful, and to me, a little bit intimidating, but in a good way. Kind of the challenge of, can I do this? Like, I'm working on a novel.
I keep telling you I want you to write a certain nonfiction book.
Yes.
I keep saying no, but I'm going to keep telling you that I want you to write it, and that will remain secret. But I still want to write it.
Folder. All I will tell you is there's a folder with a title and nothing written in it.
Well, I'm thrilled that there's a folder. I didn't know there was a folder, so I'm thrilled.
I'll tell you the title.
Yes, I want to know. Yes.
What could go wrong?
I love it. See, done. I love it. I'm all chilled up. I love it. I can't wait. That means it's going to happen. It's happening. It's happening.
The book I'm working on now, my sister, who has known about the idea forever, every time she sees me, she's like, are you working on it? And I'll say yes. And she's like, don't pull your punches. It's her one command for me in this book. And there's a million reasons why, which will be apparent, next year or so when it comes out.
I love that. Don't pull your punches. I had an editor.
When I sit at the computer, like my job is to tell the truth. And it doesn't matter if I'm writing about myself, which I rarely do, almost never do, or if I'm writing about somebody else's life, I still have to tell the truth.
And you don't have to tell everything. That when it comes to nonfiction, if you're in the book, you come off well. Like I'm not gonna be unkind to someone that I love. So, I'm putting you in the book because I want to paint you in the best light. And there are many, many, many unpleasant things that have happened to me, and that I have done. We're all human, and you don't have to write about them. I want to write nonfiction that's kind, that's funny, and that's honest, because I want it to be a relief.
No, I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. And on that note,
Yes.
do you trust me?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Okay, then I want you
Are you
to
gonna ask me to take my top off?
No, no. But I am going to make you read something blind. I want you to turn
Okay.
to page 122 in your book.
Okay. I wish
And
I
just
brought
read
my
that one
words
page.
there.
You can stop at the beginning.
Wait,
So
let me get
122, and you can stop at the bottom of the last paragraph.
Okay, so this starts with I believe. Yes?
Yes.
And I'm gonna
Yes.
stop at the okay. Okay, good. All right, ready. I believe there should be TV shows like Laundry Room Wars, Chardonnay Showdown, and Librarian Mosh Pit. I believe there should be Instagram shaming accounts like elbow length hair, drapes my arms in public, or bad manicures hold eBay products for size reference. I believe there should be etiquette manuals called Don't Text and Tinkle, or Don't Wear Fishnets to a Funeral, or Oh, the things you don't tweet. I want a Pulitzer Prize for tweeting. I want a book genre called It's Not Chick Lit, It's Lit, Bitch. Instead of a chip on my shoulder, I keep a Nestle morsel tucked under my bra strap. Instead of a superpower of flight or invisibility, I would like the superpower to pick a ripe pear. I want to get chicken fried steak sleepy. I believe in buying the next size up because I was not put on this earth to fit into or restrain the largeness of my life. Nor was I put on this earth to scroll my birth year like a Price is Right wheel, or remember what it was like to be your age. I believe that people who are 10 years younger than you are not your age. I believe that people who are 10 years older than you do not care how old you are.
So that is from the I'm a Believer essay, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Also love that one. Love that page in particular. I giggled, I laughed, and it's all true. There is incredible power in knowing who you are as a
Yes.
person and feeling comfortable in your own skin and owning it. And I think if I had to sum up the theme of your book, I can never figure out my own themes. I can figure it out.
Me either.
But if I was quizzed, what is the theme of Helen's book? It would be knowing who you are and being comfortable with who you
I
are.
love it. I love it. Bring your baggage and don't pack light.
It's a mantra. I don't know. I love it.
It's true. You nailed it. You get an A.
So we're going to play a second little game.
I love a game.
Yes, it's not the game we played last time with mine, because I know there are people that have questions for you. So I'm going to wrap up my part, and then I'm going to share you
Yay!
with the audience. So it's called 20 Questions in 2 Minutes.
Love it.
I'm going to read
We're
you.
going to go fast.
Yes, we're going to go fast. So total honesty, first thing that pops into your head. Some of them are serious, some of them not at all.
Okay.
A food you will not eat.
Liver.
Same.
You froze.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Oh, no. Am I here?
No,
Okay,
you're there.
cool.
You're there.
A strange, okay, good. A strange item in your purse.
A strange item in my purse. Nipple cream. But it's for my lips.
Wine or bourbon?
Wine.
Okay. Is mayonnaise an acceptable hot dog topping?
No.
Agreed.
No.
New York or Alabama?
I put it on everything else, but not on a hot dog. I mean, think about it.
Well, just mayonnaise in general is horrible. New York or Alabama?
Honey, New York.
Okay.
I keep the accent, but I've been here longer.
Okay. The first thing you thought when you saw your husband?
Cute. Cute. Cute.
Oh.
I thought that this morning.
One place you would love. Oh, see, there's the secret to a happy marriage.
So cute.
One place you would love to travel.
Dollywood.
Oh, we can go together.
I would love it. I've never been.
That can be our trip.
I would love that.
A TV show you are loving right now.
Dynasty, 1983 through 1989. I'm binge watching. I'm on season 6. Dynasty. It's the cure to what ails you. Not the new one, the old one. Yeah.
That's important. Because you weren't allowed to watch it, right?
No, I wasn't allowed. And I am having the best time. Everybody slaps everybody in the face. I love it.
The last book that made you cry.
The last book that made me cry, I'm going to go to Timby Locke's From Scratch. I don't cry easily. The last book that made me cry before that was Maine by Courtney Sullivan. And the last one before that was Widow for 1 Year by John Irving. So they're like, I am not a big, I laugh at books, but I'm not a big crier. And it was not, yeah. So that was it. That was the last one because I was so startled. What is this? Yeah.
It's amazing. You can count them on one hand. I cry all the time.
People love that. My literary agent said her mantra is if they cry, they buy.
It's true.
Apparently people really like to do it.
It's true. My favorite thing is to make you laugh and then make you cry.
Yes, me too. Yes.
Your favorite comfort food?
My favorite comfort food is Ruffles potato chips with homemade onion dip, which is just pour the bag and the soup mix into the sour cream and mix it up and let it rest for like 5 minutes. But that is my favorite.
I'll do Ruffles potato chips and salsa, which nobody else on earth
What?
wants to eat. It doesn't make any sense, but it's delicious.
Love it.
Something you're scared of.
Whales.
Have you ever seen one?
People have been like posting whales online, but I have always been afraid of them ever since like you used to get the National Geographic magazine and they had like a record that was flimsy inside of like whale noises. If I saw a whale in real life, I would have a heart attack. That's a dinosaur.
We were at the beach last week and I love the ocean. I love to sit beside the ocean.
Yes.
I love to be in the ocean. It tastes bad.
And people pee in it.
And
everybody
there are
in
like
it.
huge things in there that could eat me. I'm very suspicious of the ocean.
Yeah.
Okay. A word you hate.
A word I hate. Meh. Meh.
Meh. What was the last book you bought for someone else?
Oh, I was going to tell you the last book I bought for myself. The last book I bought for someone else. Gosh, I can do it. What was it? I don't know. I can do it. I can't do it.
Yourself then.
Wayward by Spiata. And not saying that correctly, but it's just out. And I was on the plane coming back from Tulsa, Oklahoma, where I bought the book at Magic City Books. And I'm sitting there reading this book with my mask on, and a young man, which means like 20s, sits down beside me, nothing to read, nothing to look at, nothing to do. And he turns to me and he says, because we got our mask on, what are you reading? Is it any good? And I said, yes. And he says, what's it about? And I said, a menopausal woman runs away from her husband. He says, damn. I don't know if that's for me. And I said, I don't know if it's for you either. But that shut the conversation down.
There you go. A bonus question that I just thought of, because I too was on a plane recently and this did not happen and has never happened. But have you ever been out in public and seen someone reading one of your books?
No. I wish. I look too. People think like people have like imposter syndrome. I have the opposite of that because everywhere I am, I'm looking. Is anybody reading it on the subway? Anywhere? Anybody? Never. No.
I would love to see it and talk to them and just ask them what they think about it and never.
I fantasize about it constantly. I'm on the plane and I'm just watching people come through, and I saw the plot go by. I saw. What's that? The Paper Palace, whatever Reese's book. Yeah, I saw that go by. I saw Malibu Rising go by. I'm looking for mine.
I'll look for yours, and then I will talk to them on your behalf.
Please.
Okay.
Please.
How many languages can you speak the word no in? And
I
can you
just
demonstrate?
well, where it's not actually no, because I mean,
Right.
you know,
That's
it would
several
be
of us.
Greek. It would be Greek because my husband is Greek and no is ohi. And so I remember, I can't remember what it was, but we were in Greece and one of his many relatives was speeding down the highway, and I just remember yelling in the back seat, "Ohi, ohi, ohi!" So that's the one. Everywhere else is because nay means yes, like nay, nay, you know, in Greek. So and then everything else I can think of is no, like France, you know, French is no.
When my kids ask me for something and I don't give it to them, I'll tell them no, and then they'll argue, and I'll say, I can say it in other languages.
Yes.
Would you like me to demonstrate?
My favorite like French word, I used to work for 2 Frenchmen, and all day long I would hear them say d'accord, 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 which means okay, okay, okay. I love that. D'accord, d'accord, d'accord.
Okay, a word that should be used more often.
Enjoyable.
Enjoyable.
I use that word about 14 times a day and sign every correspondence with that.
You do. What are the names of your cats?
My cat's names are Big Boy and Tang Tang, and they're named after restaurants. So Big Boy is for, you know, Big Boy's, you know, burger joint, and he's 15 now, and for the longest time he was 25 pounds. Now he's 9 pounds because he's an old man. He's just an old man. But so Big Boy and Tang Tang originally was Tang because he's orange, like the drink. But then we named him Tang Tang because there was a restaurant down the street called Tang Tang's Garden. So it's Big Boy and Tang Tang. And one, I have to tell you, I get in the elevator years back, and a doorman handed me my mail, and it was Valentine's Day, and he said, "Helen, why are you called Tang Tang?" And I said, "What?" And my parents' cat had sent a letter to Big Boy and Tang Tang. And they assumed my husband is Big Boy, and they assumed I am Tang Tang. So I just looked at him and said, "It's from my dancing years."
Okay, what is the name of the ghost who lives in your building?
Oh, the ghost that lives in the building is it's like the Moonlight Lady. She was in this apartment before I moved in, and my husband's brother saw her in our living room, dressed sort of like Maria Callas with the opera gloves and the gown. And I don't know the name of the one that lives downstairs, but I will tell you, on the other side of this wall lived Ira Levin, who wrote Rosemary's Baby. And in the basement, it has since been removed in the last year. For 20 years, there's been a black baby carriage straight out of Rosemary's Baby.
No.
Nothing was in it, but it was always in a different position. And the doorman swore they would see it roll on security cameras and that sort of thing. So also, fun fact, now that I'm on the co-op board, I hear gossip. Don't tell anybody. But apparently, Ira Levin's wife used to have an illegal pottery kiln in the apartment. So, fun fact.
Fun facts. 2 more.
Yeah.
One color that you will not wear.
One color that I will not wear. I don't know. Like gray, maybe gray. I wear it all. I like a pop of color. I like a little color.
You are a pop of color.
Yeah.
I can't wear yellow, which apparently looks very, very good on you.
I love yellow. I look like a circumcised banana.
I look like I'm dying.
Oh, I love it. I love yellow.
All right, last question. What is your, in this round, favorite scary novel?
Favorite scary novel, I'm gonna say Carrie by Stephen King. It's another book I reread. If you want to read a perfect novel, I think it's a perfect novel. It's very short, and it's told in a really interesting way. It's told with like newspaper articles and quotes, and it's told like a factual accounting. And he writes so well. He was like a 20-something-year-old man at the time, and he writes so well from a young woman's point of view, which isn't always the case. And it is scary as hell. And because I think getting your period, you know, is
Terrifying.
Yeah, it's terrifying. But and I think high school can be like the scariest place on earth. And so that is my favorite scary novel, because I have reread it probably 20 times.
Okay, so speaking of Stephen King, I'm convinced that Siri, especially in my maps, is trying to kill me. She's trying to kill me because she's in love with my husband. She's trying to steal my husband. And the way she can do this is to off me giving directions. Like,
see, again,
that told me to do U-turns.
That's a short
She told me to do U-turns in the middle of the interstate. All of this. So I was telling my husband this on the way to the beach, because I'm in the car, and she'll give him perfect directions all the time. She gives me bad directions all the time. When I'm in the car,
you're giving me a story, and
I double dog dare you to write it, because this is what happens. We're driving along. She gives him an instruction that he ignores. We would have nearly been T-boned, and the car would have hit me. So she's trying to take out me so she can have him. And I tell him my theory about how Siri.
And what is his response?
He goes, "Oh, that won't happen." I said, "It can happen. Did you never read Christine, Stephen King's novel, where a car tries to kill everybody because she's in love with the guy?" So this is my new theory. Christine has
I support and validate that theory.
Thank you very, 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 very much.
Yeah, that's why I won't have an Alexa in the house. I'm not going to let another woman's name be said more than mine in my own house.
No, absolutely not. All right, last question for me, and then I'm going to share you.
Oh, goody.
When we first met in 2016, sounds about right?
2015, yeah.
Oh, that's right.
We were free tour, yeah.
Yes. You were coming off a long publishing hiatus. However,
hiatus is a nice way to say 15 years of sheer and utter failure. So thank you. That's a Southern
hiatus is what it is. However, you've now published 3 books in the last 6 years, which makes you officially prolific. You're prolific.
I'll take it.
And I know everyone is going to want to know. So what's next? You mentioned
I'm so happy I have an answer. I've never had an answer. And so for the first time, I have an answer that for the first time, I have a book contract for another book, and I love a spreadsheet, so I'm 29% done. But it is a 3rd collection of essays, and essays I think can sound kind of snooty sometimes, so I'm going to say funny, loving stories. And this is going to be all about a happy marriage.
Yay! I love it. I approve. And here's Caitlin back.
Hello.
I'm muted. Hi. That was so great. I want this list of questions, so I just from my back pocket for like future Zoom calls. So we don't have too many questions, which is okay because we also don't have too much time left. But this is a good one, and I'm curious as well.
Yeah.
That's not particularly book related.
Good.
I'd like to know, Helen, the art behind you is fabulous. Is there a story about it?
I will tell you. So every time I win I win a poker tournament or money or whatever, I try to buy a piece of art. This is by an artist, Matt Stevens, and I've had this for probably more than 15 years. He was an Alabama artist. I think he lives in Seattle now. And it's Matt Stevens. And so if you look up, she has a little bird on her head. Yes, that's who it is.
Oh,
love it. Nice, and she's nice and matte, so there's no reflection.
Love it. Sorry, I was trying to find his website so I could share it with our attendees, but that's okay.
He's definitely on Instagram. He's not that present, but he's definitely on Instagram. And his wife, Vivian Strauss, I believe is her name, is also a fantastic artist. And we have portraits of her that he has done.
Oh, she's a muse and an artist. I love that. So it looks like we don't have many other questions. So I just want to take some time to brag about this book. We have signed book plate editions, but I took these from our back room closet. So these aren't signed, but we have signed book plate editions, and Helen has been so generous in kind of giving us a steady supply of signed book plates during this kind of strange time where that is kind of how we're making do. And I was telling her earlier that if you're on the fence about this book, and I kind of don't know how you possibly could be, but just in case you are, I was telling her that she makes shopping for my mother so simple, because every time she has a new book out, I just wrap it up and send it down to Jackson for her. And so I gave her Southern Lady Code a couple of years ago, and she called me and she said, she was just like, it was great, it was wonderful, but I couldn't put it down, and I've got a god awful sunburn, because she read it all day.
Isn't that the best blurb? I want that to be a blurb. And
Yeah.
before we run out of time, I just want to say a thank you to Square Books, because you talk about my hiatus. And Square Books hosted me 21 years ago for Eating the Cheshire Cat, and were the first ones to invite me back 15 years later. And it was such a thrill to be there. 2 years ago was Southern Lady Code, and you never forgot me, even though I sort of forgot myself. And I thank you so much. And there's nothing I won't do for you.
Oh, well, it's our pleasure. You both make our job really easy, because you write wonderful books that are just a joy to hand sell. And just before we kind of hop off and say goodbye, I do want to remind the folks who are joining us that author events, in person, virtual, hybrid, whatever, aren't possible without your support. So if you haven't picked up this book, I've dropped the link to purchase it quite a few times. We have an online store. You can give us a call, or just come back and see it, or come by the store and see us. We're happy to help you with all of your book needs. And thank you both for spending your evening with us. Ariel, thank you for that list of questions. I really do want a copy of it. I will send you a gentle nudge later this evening. But it was so great. That's such a great format, and this was such a delight. Your love for each other and your craft is evident, and it's just a joy to kind of witness. And
please come see us in Jackson on the 21st. Yeah. I can't wait. You can see me running towards her in a field.
Yes, yeah. I'll definitely do that one more time.
Bring my husband with me.
Yes. And I am bringing a friend from Grown Ass Ladies.
Oh, wow. Okay. I love it. Y'all got to go. It's going to be fun. And in the meantime, I hope y'all take care, and I hope to see you both in Oxford sooner rather than later.
Yes. Okay. Anytime. I've been once and would love to come back.
Awesome. Okay, cool. There's never a graceful way to end these, so I'm just going to do it. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.